we have Arjun Erigaisi playing with the black pieces, and after knight f3 he opens the game with d5. We have the reti opening on the board, and if you notice, for the first 10 moves Arjun ignores some really important opening principles. Like after e3 here, Arjun plays the move knight to d7. Not only is he moving his knight twice in the opening, which is not considered good, he's also blocking the development of this bishop. And every time he's moving a piece that is already developed, he's ignoring the development of his other pieces, especially these two bishops and these two rooks. Okay, so not good. White plays knight a3. By the way, with white is playing Daneshwar Bardiya from Iran. And this game was played in the Olympiad match between India and Iran. Arjun now goes e5. Yes, he's taking control of the center, but he's ignoring his development. Knight h4 is played. Arjun takes on e3, fe3. And if you notice, this bishop has an open diagonal. This rook gets opened up after fe3. This knight is ready to come to f5. Whereas Arjun's pieces are just sleeping on their starting squares. Next move, Arjun plays knight f6. Once again, he moves the same knight. This knight has already made 3 moves in the opening. Out of the first 10 moves, 3 moves have been with the knight. But now is where the instructive part begins. I want you to pay attention very closely to the next 5 moves that Arjun plays. Okay, here we go. White goes knight b5. Arjun plays bishop g4. Okay, move number 1. White plays queen b3. Arjun goes queen d7. Move number 2. Knight c3 happens. Arjun goes rook d8. Move number 3. And now here white actually had an interesting option, although he didn't play that. He could have played rook into f6. The point is, after g into f6, there is no knight to guard this d5 square, which means this knight can land on d5, and after bishop e7, white can go bishop d2. Yes, white has sacrificed the exchange, but next move they're going to play rook f1, and there is going to be a lot of pressure on this f6 pawn, and white has some compensation for their sacrificed exchange here. This would have been very interesting. Not winning, very interesting. Okay, although it didn't happen in the game, and white played knight d5. Now Arjun plays the move bishop e7. Move number 4. Okay, simply developing his bishop, bishop d2 and short castle. Move number 5. Arjun was behind in development. He had got out only 2 pieces after 10 moves, and by move number 15, all his pieces are developed. If you're behind in development, please finish it as quickly as you can. I like to set a rule that you want to finish your development by move number 15. So that it gives something very concrete for players to work with. And as you can see here, despite being behind in development by a lot, Arjun was able to finish his development by bringing a new piece out every time he was, developing his rooks, bishops and queens. Okay, so that is something very, very useful that you can remember. Short castle, rook a1 played in the game. Arjun went bishop e6, asking this knight what it is doing here. White is like, I want the knight to stay here, so he plays the move e4, overprotecting the knight. But this allows the black knight to jump to d4, attacking the queen. The queen jumps to c3. Now Arjun chops off this knight, and after c d5, he goes bishop g4. Now if you notice, there is a threat to go knight e2 check, forking the king and queen, which means white would be forced to give up the rook for the knight. Not a fair deal for white, right? But white is like, okay, I'm going to play the move bishop e3. And let me tell you, white has a rating of 2600 elo. Now, did he miss knight e2 check? Absolutely not. Because the point is, after knight e2, there comes rook e2, bishop e2, rook f2 attacks the bishop, and once the bishop moves away, you can take this pawn on e5. And the thing here is, despite black being an exchange up, his rooks just don't have open files or targets to attack. So, because of which, Arjun doesn't play the move knight to e2 check. Instead, he goes bishop into h4, g into h4, and instead of going knight e2 check, he plays the move f5. He creates counterplay in the middle of the board and opens up the position. Now if you go e takes f5, now it makes sense to go knight e2 check, because the point is, after rook e2, bishop e2, this center, you can, like, white can play rook f2, or white can play, let's say, rook e1. Now you can move this bishop back, and after queen e5, you have a move like rook e8. Now these rooks have nice open files, and this is where, they can start to show their power and their superiority over these bishops. Okay, so very, very smart decision from Arjun. f5 was played. White here goes bishop into d4. Now Arjun takes c into d4, asking the queen what it is gonna do. The queen comes to c5. Now Arjun plays the move f4, and suddenly there is a threat to go f3. Just kind of throwing that bishop off. The problem for white is white cannot play the move bishop f3, because here there is bishop takes, check, gobble, and gobble this pawn as well, and black is gonna win too many pawns and win the game eventually. So now in this position, black threatens to go f3. So white decides, let me make some room for my bishop so that after f3 it can drop back to f1. So Arjun is like, yes, okay, but first let me kick out your queen. The queen is attacked. The queen runs to b4 now, and now Arjun goes f3, asking this bishop to run away. So now the bishop goes to f1, and this bishop is kind of sad. It just cannot get out from somewhere. It doesn't know when it is going to see, light at the end of the tunnel. So after bishop f1, there comes the move bishop h5, getting this queen in the attack. White plays the move king h1. Now if you notice, Arjun's play revolves around mobilizing all his pieces to attack this white king. So first he goes rook f6. He wants to try to create an attack here against this king. White plays h3 and kind of buries this bishop alive on f1, since now it is just staring at its own pawns. It can't even go to e2 and g2 squares either. So it's buried right on f1 alive. Now Arjun decides to play rook c8. Now you may wonder, okay, didn't you say that this Arjun is trying to build an attack against this king? So why is this rook going on this c file? Because all these squares are covered here. The point is, now white goes queen d2, because white also wants to fight for the c file. Arjun now plays rook g6, stops this queen from coming to g5 if it was a move. White plays rook c1, takes control of this c file, and now Arjun goes rook f8. So with this move rook c8, what Arjun did was something very clever. He forced this queen back to d2, and once the queen moved back, he shifted to f8. Very, very interesting maneuver. So after rook f8, white went queen b4 again, trying to, create some counterplay from the queen side. Arjun goes h6. Very nice move, creating an escape hatch for the king. Rook fc2 is played. White is hoping that he gets some counterplay along the c file. But now Arjun goes f2. And suddenly this bishop is ready to dive into f3 and give a check and create all nasty threats. However, white's rook also invades from the 7th rank. It looks very tense. There comes rook g1 check, attacking the king. The king goes to h2. And now in this position, Arjun finds a crazy, crazy sacrifice. Can you find it? Pause the video and think. Arjun plays the move rook takes f1. And white captures the queen. And now there comes rook takes c1. And there's a huge threat in this position of white getting checkmated. So that is why white resigned in the game. By the way, it doesn't end here. Tell me what would happen if white plays the move queen to e7. Let me know in the comments how black wins. Tell me at least one way how black wins. There are more than one ways, by the way. With this victory, Arjun helped India to win 3.5 against a very, very strong Iranian team. And if you want to check another game of Arjun from the Olympiad, go here.